been possibly the strangest year when it comes to Hindi movie releases, where in the first 3 months of the year everything was going as is considered normal with multiple theatrical releases. The pandemic changed the entire landscape of movie releases and the strategy followed by various production houses. While big commercial films are playing the waiting game for some form of normalcy to appear so that they can mass release their films in theaters, lesser known movies have been provided a worldwide platform through various OTT platforms. It's important to acknowledge that while some movies tapped into an audience it may have never reached with the theatrical release, the digital space also became a dumping ground for trash content. I will not be mentioning Tamil, Telugu, Kannada or Malayalam cinema that released this year, but just in case, Surarai Potru, Trance and Color Photo would have been some of my favorite picks of the year. Moving forward, because the year eventually had such an oscillating structure, I could not simply create a generic list of top 5s, and I thought I would do more of a service if I categorize my favorite films into 4 subsections, which include guilty pleasures, a step in the right direction, honourable mentions, and finally the undeniable category. So getting right into it, here is Tried&Refused Productions with the best Bollywood movies and performances of 2020. The guilty pleasure category. I have 2 films regarding this category as they represent movie-going experiences where I simply had a really fun time. I did not have to dig deep with my analysis of such films, and these movies represent the films you don't really mention in discussions of path-breaking cinema. Number 1 in this category is the Saif Ali Khan, Tabu and Alaya F starrer JAANEMAN. A film about the unforeseen reunion of a middle-aged man-child and his daughter was extremely hilarious and light. Alaya F, according to me, had one of the most underrated debuts and commanded herself with confidence amongst brilliant actors like Saif and Tabu. I still remember the effortless chemistry that was shared between Saif and Tabu throughout this film. It genuinely generated laughter within me and I had a breeze of a time. Number 2 in this category is the Aditya Roy Kapoor, Disha Patni, Kunal Khemu and Anil Kapoor starrer Malang directed by Mohit Suri. If you provide me an album of soulful, beautiful music with the backdrop of Goa and to top it all, also set a revenge crime thriller within all of this, I'm all in. This category of guilty pleasure films are obviously not perfect, so Malang does suffer from several loopholes in its plot and vague character choices, but holistically it turned out to be quite an entertaining commercial film, enhanced by the performances and the development of intrigue with its unpredictable and non-chronological screenplay. Malang turned out to be an enjoyable guilty pleasure thriller. The second category includes the step in the right direction. This category represents films which have been a breath of fresh air in context to the recent history of Hindi cinema. They represent early signs that we may progress from the archaic practices that were once followed in regards to representation and exploring different genres of storytelling. Panga. A movie that fell off everyone's radar and I believe was an extremely understated and convincing storyline was the Kangana Ranaut, Neena Gupta, Richa Chadda and Jassi Gill starrer Panga. The reason why it stood out to me as a refreshing take with the female protagonist was that oftentimes such stories create antagonists in the form of abusive and regressive husbands or selectors that often abuse their positions of power. But Panga provided a nuanced take on some journeys are about understanding your needs and wants as individuals, even if momentarily you may have forgotten about it completely. Oftentimes, individuals project their own insecurities and unmatched potential to the ones closest to them, oftentimes pushing them away. And it is very rarely you find films which makes the protagonist self-reflect and identify their potential as the ones closest to them stick by them every step of the way. The family dynamic and what the story represented really stayed with me. Shubh ZYAADA SAAVDHAN. I've mentioned many times how regressive and unbearable it has been to see the representation of the LGBTQI community in films. It took an actor with the commercial viability of Ayushmann Khurrana to take the plunge and present a romantic story just like any other small-town heterosexual tale. A romantic comedy focusing on a gay relationship, individuals that come from normal households, a gay couple that has their own romantic song as they sit on a bike together, literally making out in a film so that the masses can see. It was a huge step despite the generic and forgettable storytelling, and hopefully even a stepping stone for more representation of marginalized communities. THAPPAD. A film that went through polarizing reactions mainly due to the association of creators with the project was the Anubhav Sinha directed film THAPPAD. A film that through its powerful writing communicated so much about the gender bias, institutionalized sexism, as well as the basic existence of mutual respect and understanding of consent in a relationship. A film that does not take the snowflake SJW route of demonizing men with broad strokes of evil, but to self-reflect on why we are the way we are. JL50. The reason why JL50 makes it to my list is due to the dearth of original sci-fi and fantasy in Hindi films and what a fresh and inventive take was presented through this film. A movie that with a limited budget successfully showcased a premise based not only on time travel but it presents a journey of one's truth, showcased successfully by a capable actor like Abhay Deol. I still won't forget Pankaj Kapoor talking about the lack of vision in the country when he said, "इस देश में आकाश में कुछ दिखता जाए तो हाथ जोड़ लेते हैं और उसे भगवान मान लेते हैं. But we never ask what, how, and why." Unique, innovative, and headed the right way. BULBBUL, a film that I completely misunderstood due to my genre-based criticism of the film, expecting it to be a conventional horror film, was the Netflix film BULBBUL, a film that I had to revisit to understand its subtle subtext and deep social context of each character. Tripti Dimri and Paoli Dam are phenomenal in this film, but even more so the beautiful production design working hand-to-hand with mystical elements that successfully communicated the plight of women from a tender age to when they become adults made for a very thought-provoking and compelling film. The third category includes honourable mentions. This category is in reference to those films that truly would have not got access to such a wide audience had it simply released in theatres. The OTT landscape allowed the Indian audience to truly appreciate these humble films. Welcome Home. This extremely dark, gritty and disturbing film is not meant for the faint-hearted. A census report leads to two female government school teachers to an isolated house in which resides a family with a twisted secret they never imagined to uncover. The film with its discomforting premise showcases brilliant performances by the cast, especially Kashmira Irani and Bolo Ram Das. In many parts while watching Welcome Home, you will be reminded of the unsettling thriller Don't Breathe. The film does not hesitate to show you every gory detail, which also makes it a perfect release for the OTT space. LOOTCASE, a film that I know originally was supposed to release in theatres in 2019 but kept on getting delayed due to the clash with big budget films, was LOOTCASE, a film that I found to be such a breeze and effortlessly hilarious. The fate of a man bumping into a suitcase filled with cash only for absolute chaos to ensue due to several parties and their vested interests, which include politicians, cops as well as local dons, formed a genuinely funny ride with brilliant performances by especially Khemu, Shori and Vijay Raz. Chintu Ka Birthday. This sweet but unique film really won my heart over. An Indian Bihari family in Iraq, a country that is left in absolute turmoil and a sense of lawlessness since the inception of the war. We get transported to this beautiful household preparing for the 6th birthday of their young son Chintu. The dichotomy that exists as Chintu awaits his birthday celebration among family and several friends as the shillings, bombings and sirens blare in the background, eventually leading to some unwanted birthday guests arriving in the form of US troops, forms a beautiful story worth your time, showcasing some lovely performances especially by Tilotama Shome, Vinay Pathak and the little boy Vedant Chibber. Tesh, a film that is slick and so impressive simply due to the filmmaking of Bijoy Nambiar and the exceptional performances of the ensemble cast, was the film Tesh, focusing on wedding celebrations that go terribly wrong as the family in Mary crosses paths with an influential mob family only for a dark history to get unveiled. The slippery slope and the dire circumstances that result in an act of rage or impulsive anger, which is the meaning of the title of the film Tesh, forms the premise of this exhilarating, unique and stylized action thriller. Watch out for Harshvardhan Rane as Pali in this film. The man is here to stay and deserves so much more. The final category includes the undeniable category. Lastly, these are films that I believe should be in everyone's must-watch list. These films are superior in my opinion according to its storytelling, performances and what they represented as films. RAAT AKELI hai, the story of the mysterious murder of the patriarch of the family and the unraveling of the eccentric family members and their relationships created a perfect canvas for a compelling thriller. A film that was inundated with comparisons to Knives Out but was more similar to Agatha Christie's novel called The Crooked House that was published in 1949. RAAT AKELI hai possessed exceptional performances by the ensemble cast, developed intrigue to the question of who done it, and was a commentary on the representation of class differences that have become extremely obvious in the process of law and order, one which manipulates events for their suitability and the other that remains victims to the system. It is a commentary on how judgment in India through class, color and caste is a prerequisite for any interaction progressing, and honestly was a really impressive piece of work. KAAMYAAB, a film that is forever in my heart and goes down as one of the most enjoyable theatre experiences I had in 2020 was the Sanjay Mishra starrer KAAMYAAB. A retired actor that mostly played supporting roles in Hindi movies comes to the realization that he prematurely retired with 499 films, hence making a comeback to reach that milestone, shedding light on the unique lifestyle of the acting profession, the lack of understanding in the case of family members as well as strangers pertaining to the oscillating experience of an artist. The brutal and cutthroat competitive nature for roles ranging from all kinds of age groups, the fickle nature of the entertainment industry, and how humans, especially in the creative field, have to constantly battle their sense of self and whether they belong to an occupation they consider to be their calling. Sanjay Mishra is a legend, and he will tug at your heartstrings through this role, and it took us about time to give him his due respect. Baleu, a film that I had the honor of watching and was stumped for its complex messaging in contrast to its basic storyline, was the Pratik Vats directed film Baleu. While the film is only present in select theatres with a handful of shows and hopefully will come for your viewing pleasure as soon as possible to the OTT platform, it is a film that I would highly recommend you to jump on when the day comes for its digital release. The story of a character scoring the odd government job of keeping monkeys away from public buildings and shedding light on the cynicism and realization that comes with employment in the city. The film is a compelling take on the realistic opportunities for migrant workers and the toxic herd mentality that will truly leave you speechless, especially when presented through a vessel like Shardul Bhardwaj as the lead. Ludo, a movie that I have revisited again and again for many reasons, is the enjoyable, fun and layered storytelling of Ludo created by Anurag Basu. For its beautiful music, for its cinematography, for its vibrant production design, for its talented cast, especially my hairstyle doppelganger Rajkumar Rao, for its eventual culmination of several storylines, Ludo stayed with me after several weeks. It was quite hilarious to see some of the downright abysmal criticism the film got eventually, but it was also beautiful to witness the sheer overwhelming response this film got from the audience. A film which will remain one of my favorites for the year, and for good reason too. And that was the video, guys. Write down in the comments below which were your favorite films of 2020. Please don't forget to follow me on Instagram. The handle's right in front of you. Follow me at JammyPants4. Also, please support us by smashing the like button and subscribing to our channel for weekly content ahead. Thank you for watching.